was the discussion with Pragya?
Pretty good. We were just talking about the localization and bit, and also with pre-order, also we'll have to consider the store locator and all those elements.
Okay.
It also showcased phase two of the design.
Okay. Hey, Sneha. Hey, Kaushik.
Hello, sir.
Hey, hi, Naveen, sir. Uh, Navneet, sir, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute. No longer am.
Thanks for joining, sir.
Absolutely.
We'll wait for a couple of minutes for people to join.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be I'll be on camera in a minute.
Sure. GP, are we ready with recording?
Yep, we are good to go.
Navisa, am I audible?
Yes, very much.
Okay, thank you.
I gave this link to some of my team members. I think it should work without a password or anything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
This just this link is what I gave.
Yes, yes, it should work. There is no password. Okay, GP. I think let's start the recording. Right.
Yep, yep. Sorted.
Let me know once it is started.
Let's start. Yes, we can do
It started.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining the session, and I welcome you all to this webinar. It's more of a fireside chat that I'm having with Mr. Navneet Singh. I'll quickly give you a brief introduction about myself, and then I'll get into Mr. Navneet. So my name is Sandeep, and I have about 15 years of experience in software domain, mostly into e-commerce, logistics, and a little bit of fintech. And uh, I met Mr. Navneet in one of the startup that I was part of, and he was one of the CXO in that company. Mr. Navneet is ex MIT. He is ex Google product leader and engineering leader, and he has worked with a lot of startups. He has helped a lot of startups in the past, and right now he is the CEO of stepfunction AI, which is one of the leading AI company out there in the Bay Area, as well as it is growing with pretty rapid pace. I would say I've been following stepfunction right from beginning. Uh, the growth is tremendous, and I would, suggest each one of you to at least go and visit the website. I'll put it up in the notes after this call. Uh, uh, so, uh, and Mr. Navneet is like an avid engineer and a serial entrepreneur, I would say. Uh, as I mentioned, he has helped a lot of startups, and he's continuing to do so. So he has a lot of good connects in the Bay Area. So please feel free to reach out to him if you need any help. I can definitely connect with you to him, right? So thanks, Mr. Amit, for joining the webinar.
No,
This-
absolutely, absolutely. Where do just a quick poll? Where are most people joining from? Is it
uh,
mostly India?
most,
Do we?
yes, most of them are in India, and some of our folks are from Middle East as well.
How many folks do we have from the Middle East, and where in the Middle East?
Mostly in Dubai and Saudi.
Are people able to have live interaction right now, or is everyone muted? Like, yeah, it
No, no,
was
no. We can hear you. We can hear you.
okay, awesome. So yeah, that's why I was asking Nile if yeah, I was asking live, who's from the Middle
Yeah. So
East.
basically, yeah. So
Yeah. So we have presence in Middle East as well, and we are expecting some folks to join from Europe as well. So uh, it's a big.
There is one. Yeah. So Sandeep, there is one guy from UK, I guess.
Oh,
Huzaifa.
nice, nice, nice. So I mean, mostly I would say 75% of our audience is from India, and remaining are from Middle East and Europe and probably some part of Asia.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, my team is also large part of it is in India. So if they join, we'll have even more India representation. And
Great.
as you can see, I'm not in India right now. You can probably see the sun falling on me.
Right.
So yes, yeah,
It's quite early for you, I believe, right? You're in California.
yes, I'm having tea right now.
Yeah. Great. So once again, thanks, Mr. Navneet, for joining this session. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an interesting one for me and for all of us who have joined. So we'll get started, right? Uh, so of course, the agenda of this fireside chat is basically understanding the importance of Gen AI, specifically AI, in the e-commerce industry, right? Uh, as we have seen in last couple of years, uh, there has been a lot of conversation and a lot of adoption of AI, right? In various sectors, and e-commerce is not behind as well, right? So, just as a starter, if you can help us with understanding in very layman terms, what exactly is Gen AI, and in a very broader scope, what exactly is AI, right? Before we get into the use cases of AI in e-commerce.
Awesome. I'm glad you asked generally the broader AI question also. Let me first say, I mean, generative AI is exactly what it sounds like. It's the type of AI that creates some kind of content for you, whether it's text content, audio, video, images. It creates content for you based on patterns that it's been noticing in existing content. Right? So that's roughly speaking generative AI. And the current boom we're living in, yes, it was started in November 22
Right.
with the Chat GPT moment. I've stopped calling it the iPhone moment of
Right.
AI because it's much bigger than that.
Right.
So yes, that was true, but it has brought to light, like you said, just broader AI. So as businesses, really um, jump on and are eager to adopt and you know um, renovate, do innovation based on that, they have to look beyond just narrow generative AI,
Right.
and we'll get into that. So broader AI, which is very much relevant, as relevant today as it has always been, includes things like predicting something, forecasting something, right? So whether it's classifying a risk, or it's projecting, doing regressions and projecting a forecast, or it's recommending something using recommendation algorithms, or it's segmenting something. Right? So these are all very classical techniques. They're not generative in nature, right? But we can talk about how they're becoming more and more mixed up,
Right.
because generative AI and LLMs and the chatbots that we know are starting to take more and more credit for some of these things. They're riding the coattails, if you will, of traditional AI. Um, but the two shouldn't be confused. If you know, if businesses have to use the right tools to innovate and
Right.
reinvent themselves.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for that explanation, Mr. Amit. As we have seen, right, probably a couple of decades ago, e-commerce boom started, right? Probably late 90s, early 2000, and e-commerce as such has evolved in last couple of decades, especially in last decade, right? where uh, uh, the basic norm for any e-commerce company has become to appease the customer, right? Be it in any form, be it with the delivery, be it with their shopping experience, and they have been doing without AI, right? Now with AI, if you can throw some light, how can e-commerce utilize AI, right, to its best interest, where further improvements can be done in the customer like holistic experience.
Let me first clarify right away, Sandeep. There is no fine line that they were doing it without AI. Says who? Says who? The best companies doing e-commerce have been using AI. What is AI? AI is just intelligence.
Right.
So would you call a logistic regression model, or would you call collaborative filtering AI? I mean, if it solves your purpose, yes, it is. So I would say the best e-commerce companies have been using AI from day one. From day one. I mean, Amazon from day one has been using intelligence. I mean, look at your experience on Amazon, right?
Right.
And look at your experience on Amazon 20 years ago,
Right.
15 years ago. So there's no fine line that all of a sudden on November 19th, 2022, some switch flipped. And before that, companies weren't using AI for e-commerce, and after that, they were. E-commerce, like you were saying, is the best experiences. They are personalized.
Right.
They are targeted, right? So personalized makes you feel like, okay, it's really talking to me. Even go as far as like the layout is for me, the product recommendations are for me. Man, it gets it right, right? And then targeting is similar, uses similar techniques, and eh, there are targeted offers, there are targeted discounts, everything. Um, then, like you said, last mile delivery. There's a lot to be done on the customer experience, everything. And I would say everything should be looked at from first principles
Right.
and not from, okay, is this e-commerce experience using AI? Is it using generative AI versus this one is not? I'm going to go shop here, or this one's going to be more successful, right? So first principles, but you're right. The true innovation in all these things, whether it's keeping the right amount of inventory,
Right.
whether it's doing last mile right, whether it's getting consumer experience great, will need a lot of advanced innovation using latest greatest AI techniques, including generative AI techniques.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. And I believe uh, the basis of the AI, I believe, is the data that is being gathered, right, across different channels, be it the customer footprint uh, in the online experience, or be it with the hardwares, be it sensors or cameras or any IoT device, right? So the data was always there, I believe. Now people have understood that this data can be mined, and much more can be done, I believe, right? So, what are the different use cases that you see of these data, which probably many companies are sitting on the gold mine, and they don't realize that, right? So, how
Mhm.
best they can utilize this data?
Right. And when you talk about lots of data, gold mine of lots of data, let's differentiate. Um, let's say that there's, largely speaking, two types of data. One is more structured data,
Right.
transactions, right? User demographics, past history, everything. Products are very structured, and then the products transaction customer joins are very structured. And then there's a bunch of semi-structured or unstructured data. And the best solutions use both. and do a very good job personalizing and keeping customers happy, reaching out, all of that. The latter, unstructured data, has really been helped by generative AI techniques,
Okay.
right? It's become a lot simpler, and thank God for APIs, right?
Right.
So all the major LLMs have APIs. There's a lot of open source LLMs that they let you use APIs to really innovate. So a lot of advancement on that front for sure.
Right. uh, uh, since I'll just pick that word from your sentence, and this is for the audience, right? With AI, people tend to hear a lot of this word, which is LLM, right? So if you can probably just like in probably a minute, if you can explain what exactly is a LLM, because GPT is an output of LLM, right? But what exactly is LLM, and what we can do with LLMs?
Right. No, absolutely. And that actually is similar to how we clarified generative AI, which is kind of narrow, and broader AI. And more generative AI is subsuming, right, broader AI. And before we get into LLM and how that's also expanding,
Right.
right? I mean, think about it. In some ways, generative or generating something can include everything, because all the different things that we talked about, whether it's personalizing Sandeep Kumar's experience by sending him, just the right products,
Right.
just the right offers, discounts. Sure, it uses techniques that have existed for decades, right?
Right.
But if they're coming out of, let's say, a GPT API, at the end of the day, what it's doing is it's generating those recommendations for Sandeep.
Right.
So in some ways, you can call that generative AI. In that ways, all intelligence can be called generative AI. So I just caution people uh, not go down that route and stick to first principles. Now, let's come to LLMs and how that's broadening. LLM stands for large language model, right? And um, large because, and these are based on transformers, as you guys must have heard, right? There's a few different types of generative AI, GANs, VAs, right? And transformers was an innovation, right? It's been around for a while, but it really came to light in 2017 with a paper called Attention is All You Need. And LLMs are essentially models, AI models, transformers, which are just fancy neural networks trained on lots and lots of data, right? And with a lot of parameters. Parameters are essentially, think of it as weights on the models. So it's large because there's billions, hundreds of billions of parameters, right? And it's been trained on terabytes, hundreds of terabytes of data, if not more. And it's language, because before you had an interface like ChatGPT, you had what's called next token prediction. So it's just language. Sandeep looks very cheerful, right? And the next tokens could be today or in this meeting or whatever, right? So it's next token prediction at a base level. So that's at a base level what large language model is. But then what you do is you fine tune those, give them new skills
Right.
to be able to do question answering and more. And today, right, I mean, that term LLM, which was so narrow, right? I defined it so narrowly. It's just predicting the next token. It's including everything. The latest one that GPT released, OpenAI released, is O1, which is a reasoning model. I mean, you throw it the IIT JEE exam, and it will crack it, right? Because it's got the right physics, chemistry, math level reasoning. And if you ask the purists, reasoning is reasoning. It's not next token prediction.
Right.
right? But it's coming out of what looks like an LLM. So the definition of LLM has increased, but I would give the same caution and say that, you know, becoming an AI business, AI-enabled business, it's not just about blindly calling GPT APIs and you're done with it,
Right.
right? In my product, I will provide too many businesses unfortunately do this, provide a text-based chat interface, all the GPT APIs, and there you go. We're done making our company an AI-enabled company.
Right. Yeah.
That's my long answer to what an LLM and generative AI are and what they're becoming.
Probably businesses are afraid of getting behind the queue, so they want to just uh, use that word and just say that we are now AI enabled, right? They don't want to miss the fun.
Hey, listen, I would ask any business, hey, what's your primary objective? Is it to make money? Right? Are you a capitalistic company and you want to make more money?
Right.
Right? Have more customers, have more satisfied customers, sell more? Or is your objective to have the label that we're an AI-enabled company? Right? So depending on that, I can guide you.
Yeah.
Now, you're right that today the two are related. Generally, e-commerce companies, for example, to make more money, to have more growth, right? They have to innovate and they will use AI in order to innovate.
Right.
But the starting point is different. Right? How can I make my existing customer base more satisfied so that they don't leave me, they don't churn? How can I acquire more customers? How can I target the right type of customers? How can I give them the right target, right? In order to increase my thing. Now you start from there and work your way down and say, okay, I guess in order to do that, I will need to use this type of AI. So be it. If you start at the other end, you're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Thanks. Okay. So let's get a little deep dive into some of the business use cases of e-commerce, where AI can definitely be useful, uh, like revenue forecasting, inventory optimization, uh, routing optimization for delivery, right? So how can AI be leveraged here in these kind of aspects?
Yeah. So let's look at the very first one that you said, revenue forecasting, right? And revenue forecasting, um, I can safely say, has been done for longer than any one of us on this call have been alive, right? And it's been done in some cases. It's been done well, right? It's a forecasting problem that looks at your various things. That what is the trend of my customer expansion, my geography expansion, my product expansion? How are they um, being uptaken in these different segments? And based on that, you build certain regression models
Right.
and you forecast the revenue. Now, those models get sophisticated. The amount of data that you can extract gets more and more sophisticated. And what you can do with the data gets more and more sophisticated. Like we discussed with generative AI techniques, you can look at more and more unstructured data and use that towards revenue forecasting. But fundamentally, right, the first principles remain the same. And maybe someday, even today, you can go into a sophisticated enough LLM and say, here's all my data, forecast my revenue for the next year, right? And it will do a fair job, right? But it's LLMs and generative AI are not to the point that such hard problems which are based on business first principles and just kind of logical first principles that you can just throw it at them and trust their answers to be the best.
Okay.
You have to bring in your own thing. So revenue forecast is one of those,
Right.
right? But the techniques used are still the same. You will use maybe fancier neural networks to do the regression based on past data. This is my time series of revenue in the past. This is the time series of my customers. This is the segmentation of my customers. These are my products. This is all the uptake data. And you put together in a model and you predict, you forecast the next quarter,
Got it.
right? So that's typically how it's done. Anybody have questions about that? Or some of the other things we can get into, inventory optimization,
Yeah.
last mile delivery, route optimization, all of those things.
Right.
Age-old problems, all
Right.
age-old problems.
True.
And none of them can be thrown to an LLM and said, here's all my data. Here's what I want to solve. Give me the answer.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Not on this topic, but route optimization, I'd be interested.
Great.
Yeah.
And Nilay is, I'm sorry, I didn't get, Sandeep, your colleagues are on this call, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That is
quick intro to Nilay and others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, shall I start?
Uh,
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm working here as an engineering manager, and I'm leading 2 or 3 teams here.
Okay.
And, I have almost 14 or 15 years of experience. Okay. I have only worked for startups, small companies, and yeah, we are really excited about this Gen AI and new things happening in the
Awesome.
tech world. And we have plans to use this Gen AI in our products. So I have a couple of questions for you later on.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Sure.
yes, Hassan.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi Navneet. Uh, s- so I just wanna, since we were just talking about, how generative AI is, it's looks like magic, but it's not for all use cases, especially business use cases. Is If you must have heard the word AGI that's been thrown around nowadays, are so generally available intelligence, right? So is that based on LLMs or is that going to be based on some other kind of AI technology out there?
Yeah, I would like to. Actually, this was my question. Since someone asked, so it's a very big topic. The
No, no.
artificial general
It's not.
intelligence.
Yeah,
Is it?
I
Let
Is
me
just threw a bigger question.
let me
it?
assure you. Let me assure you, it's not Nilay's question. It's not Hassan's question. It's everybody's question,
Okay.
right?
So actually, I would like to understand. We are talking about the business part, but when we say the word AGI, is it really mean the machine is getting conscious?
Yeah. So let's get into some definitions which nobody agrees on. But
Okay.
let's talk about AGI, which stands for artificial general intelligence. But the new thing being talked about, new as in the popular thing being talked about, is ASI, artificial super intelligence. So people have really switched the dialogue, right, from AGI to super intelligence, and even the visionaries that we know. And there's many ways to define AGI, but it's um, generally speaking, it's achieving human level intelligence in various things. Now, is it based on LLMs? We can talk about that. And we earlier talked about how LLMs themselves are becoming broader and broader, right? So would you call? Has anybody here? Can I get a quick show of hands or yeas or nays? Has anyone used the model O1, which is the latest ChatGPT? Yeah, Hassan has. Yeah, some other thumbs up. So that's if you have the premium plan for ChatGPT, right? It's the one that was released a few weeks ago by OpenAI. Used to be called Strawberry, but they called it O1 in their release, right? So O1 is a reasoning model, and if you use it, you'll see that it is spending 20 seconds, 30 seconds, in some cases a lot longer, to break down the problem, do things like chain of thought reasoning, do things like planning, and all of that, right? And would you call that an LLM, a large language model, right? I mean, keep in mind, as we discussed, large language model is mostly about next token prediction. Yes, you can fine tune it and make it do a lot of stuff. So, so your question about will AGI be based on LLMs? I mean, it all depends on your definitions, honestly. So I don't think we should get into the syntax definitions. We should just think, how far are we? And the way AGI has been traditionally defined, we're very, very close, right? We're very close. But that's why the focus of people has shifted from AGI to ASI, super intelligence. Super intelligence, which kind of collectively encompasses all the intelligence in the world, right? So humans can be intelligent, but as you would agree, no single human, not even Albert Einstein, not the smartest person, is as smart as the collective universe, right? As all of us, as organizations are a lot smarter, right, than any individual. So super intelligence is, think of it as the largest organization, right? Call it humans on Earth is the largest organization. How smart would that be? Super intelligence is achieving that level, right? There's no mysteries left in physics. There's no mysteries left in this universe. And how far are we from that? God only knows, right? But AGI, where the way it's traditionally defined, emulating human level performance, reasoning, all of those things, we're just a few years away.
Thanks, thanks, Mr. Navneet,
Just
for
one
answering.
quick follow-up.
Yeah.
So this new model, the reasoning model, is it really the LLM finding the best token or like something else?
So again, goes to definitions. So you realize, Nilay, that ChatGPT, when it came out, ChatGPT is not an LLM. ChatGPT is built on top of an LLM, right? Initially, it was built on an LLM called GPT 3.5, 3.0, before that GPT 2.0. But ChatGPT itself has been built on top of an LLM, and LLM has been given new skills, right? Question answering skills, other skills. And when it comes to reasoning, that actually has been given a lot of new skills. So, like I said, I don't think it's worth really going into the syntax of is it truly an LLM? My personal thing is no. We should stop calling things a language model if it goes beyond just natural language or generating content. As long as if it's just generating content, right? Generating text, writing an essay for you, and creating an image for you, creating a small video for you, and so forth. We should stop calling it an LLM. If you give it an IIT level problem and it's planning and breaking the problem down and looking at different steps, I personally don't call it a language model anymore. So I don't call it an LLM.
Okay.
And there are, in fact, you guys will hear different terms being thrown around. You guys are in the e-commerce industry, so in the industry, you'll hear things like LDM being thrown around, large domain model, LAM, Salesforce. Just look it up. They launched LAMs. I call it XLAM, large action models. Right. So the the whole notion of language and language models is being uh, you know reinvented, retermed, recoined.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Nere. Thanks for the question and listen. Thanks. Okay,
Thanks,
so
Navneet. That was a really well answered. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
I'll pull back the conversation a little towards e-commerce now.
Yes.
So one of the very critical aspect of e-commerce, right, is the buyer experience, right? So it all starts with uh, getting into a channel, be it an application or a web application or a social commerce channel, right? So be it any channel, right? How can AI be leveraged to enhance buyer experience? Right? How can the customer appeasement be enhanced, right? So, if you can throw some
Beautiful.
light.
No, excellent question. Love the question. And yeah, it starts at the right this thing. As an e-commerce company, your obsession should be about buyer experience, customer experience. The best companies, right, have started with that first. Amazon is famous to kind of start with that. Um, so um, let's look at, Sandeep, the different aspects of the buyer experience and how they can be reimagined and just made so much better. The one is your browsing experience, which includes what you're looking at, the products that you're looking at, the offers you're looking at, how you're looking at them, the layout that you're looking at it in. Then your transaction experience. Right? So the first is your browsing experience, then your transaction experience, which starts with your checkout experience, right? Checking out, and then receiving the product,
Yeah.
receiving it in a timely, predictable fashion, right? And I can tell you that the expectations of consumers and what we want out of commerce is increasing so rapidly, right? My daughter, when she orders something from Amazon, not only does she want it like right away, she
Yeah.
wants it predictably. She says, "Oh, overnight, I won't get it till tomorrow morning." You know, throws a fit. But tomorrow morning, what time? Right? And you're saying between 7 and 9 a.m.? That's a large window, right? So that's the next part of the customer experience, consumer experience is the delivery and predictive on-time delivery. Then after that, you receive it. Do you like it or not? Do you need to return it? Right? Fundamental difference. I'm sure India also is changing a lot, but US is always a such a customer satisfaction culture that returns is a fundamental part of commerce and e-commerce. And so, what's that return experience and everything? All of these, right, can use a lot of intelligence, right? So, for example, that last mile delivery. It's not just about delivery. It's not just about finding the best route for the driver to your house.
Right.
It's about, was inventory done right? Right? Was there enough stock close enough to the consumer,
Right.
right? So that it could have been delivered fast. Um, and all of that, yeah, Monica is giving me a thumbs up. Thank you, Monica. Um, all of that requires AI. Happy to brainstorm with you guys. I mean, I don't claim to have all the answers, but would love to brainstorm any single part of it, like inventory optimization.
Right.
What different AI techniques can be used? for that. We've talked about personalization. We've talked about other things, but
Great. Okay, thanks. I mean, that was really helpful. Uh, now I'll get into some broader aspect, right? So it'll be more like a generic question, right? So there is a new term that has been coined now with AI, which is try-on commerce, right? Like now, there are a lot of e-commerce websites where you can just upload your picture and you just click on a product, and it will replace with that particular product. Your image will superimpose that particular dress or spec or whatever, right? Whatever the product is. So, how can AI help here in try-on commerce, and how is exactly is right now helping right now?
and let's say how can AI help, but let's also not ignore other technologies
Yeah,
and broaden our question and say how can latest technology advancements of 2024 help in that. So whether it's augmented reality, virtual reality, right? Whether it's a better visual experience, not just generating an image. See, generating an image, right? So if Sandeep uploads his handsome mugshot uh, to e-commerce site and says, "Yeah, I want to try on these shirts," and they are there are images generated by a tool like Dolly or any of the existing image generation tools fine-tuned for this purpose. Yes, there'll be an image generated, but that's not your complete AR VR experience.
right.
What if Sandeep wants to kind of really try on a suit and just turn around and kind of see how he would look in a mirror, like as if he went to shopper stop and went to the fitting room and in front of a mirror tried it out and looked around and so forth, right? Uh, so yeah, that's more than just image generation and requires AR, VR, other technologies. But which specific part do you want to get into? Like the image generation, right, is I would say the easier part, and it uses Gen AI quite a bit.
Okay, okay, thanks. Great. Uh, so, okay, I think Saurav has a question. Yes, Saurav.
Yeah, hi, sir. Hi, Navneet. Saurav here. I'm product manager here at Gravity.
I sort
So I have a question, and this is with regard to how can AI actually help or enhance visual search in e-commerce? Like, like we also have Amazon Lens right now, and any more other such tools which can actually scan a product or scan something which it's seeing and then find the product for you. So how can that go in a long way?
Excellent. No, it's a great question, um, and the latest AI advancements, especially in generative AI, can really help with that. And let's keep in mind that visual search, it's not just about search. In fact, all of search is not just about the query. It's all the hard work that you do previously. Indexing, right? Indexing the right things, creating the right index, and that really helps with the other end. But before we get into that, let me kind of uh, assure you and tell you that such problems, when I was at Google, and so I was there for 6 years, from 2006 to 2012, right? So ages ago, long time ago in today's terms, right? We were working on these problems, right? And so the problems are not new. But let's talk about visual search. So suppose I like some, let's say I like a coffee mug or whatever, right? And I'm in a mall. I take an image of it with my phone. So I have an image. I come back. I say, I want exactly this. this coffee mug or whatever. Now, the e-commerce site that I've uploaded that to will need to do several things with my query, with my consumer experience. Like I said, a lot of that will depend on the hard work they've done previously. Have they previously indexed, indexed meaning collected and in their database, um, put them in the database in the right way, tagged things the right way, segmented things the right way, so that it's easy to search on. If they've done all that hard work, what will happen is my image will be taken and I would say, okay, I want this coffee mug, exactly this one. And I want it personalized, whatever. So they'll have to break down the image and get the coffee mug. They will have to get all the attributes of it. So from they will have to see from that image how big a coffee cup does Navneet want. Is he talking about a small one? And they'll have to infer that from relative sizes, the size of my hand, other things, and then match it with the right product. So um, all of this is very, very possible nowadays, but the hard work is on both ends. The indexing end, let's talk about the indexing end, right? When you're getting all your inventory, are you taking the pains to collect all the data with images? Do you have the right technology to break things down over there, label things, sizes, get all the attributes right? If you've created the right database, the other end will be easy to solve. Does that make sense, Sora?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, thanks. Okay, so I think we have about 12 minutes. So I'll open the forum for the audience to ask any questions. I'm sure you guys might have some questions. So please feel free to ask. Yes, GP.
Hey Navneet, this is Gurupriya here. I represent the UX team in Gravity. And I actually do agree with the point that you had brought up earlier in regards to the fact that AI does exist in the e-commerce world, but it's more functioning in the back-end aspect of things, wherein it is trying to churn your data and try to build in recommendations. And we, at least technically, used to colloquially call it as an algorithm rather than calling it as an AI. AI is now being casually used because now everybody is more associated to that and they know the term now. But prior to this, we call that as algorithm. But are they mutually exclusive or are they one and the same?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, AI is a bunch of algorithms in the background, right? So if you look at, for example, uh, a classification algorithm, it could be random forest. I'm sure you guys have heard of random forest. It's a tree-based algorithm, or XGBoost, which is a gradient cloning algorithm, right? So yeah, I mean, all of these are specific algorithms. If you put them together in the right way, they make up an intelligence. Algorithms have existed for much longer than any of us have been alive, and intelligence based on those algorithms has been. So, for example, we talked earlier about last mile delivery. Let's say you're just trying to optimize the route of the delivery driver, right? So those are called, uh, various names, but kind of fastest, in layman terms, let's call it fastest route algorithms, right? Fastest route algorithms have existed for probably a century, right? And you could have used those algorithms 50 years ago to create optimal routes. And is that AI? Yes, it is artificial intelligence, right? You probably coded that algorithm in some programming language, whatever was available at that time, and you got a result. And you told your, you know, salesman, the traveling salesman problem, I'm sure you've heard of a lot, right? That my algorithm has given this route. So if you're in Bangalore, Yeah, you want to get from Koramangala to Whitefield, right? This is the shortest path algorithm. And this is the shortest path coming from an algorithm. So intelligence is based on algorithms. That's my simple answer. And artificial AI is intelligence. Yeah, it's all based on algorithms. I'm happy to take any problem that you say is being solved by AI and break it down into algorithm.
Where
And if
does the intelligence take over? Where does the algorithm end? Because algorithm is still human driven to a certain aspect.
uh, the algorithms are in place, and so you ask a good question, that is AI developing a mind of its own? And this is an active area of research which says, okay, why did uh, this ChatGPT answer things this way? Was it hallucinating? Was it doing this? Or did it give a deterministic answer algorithmically? So you're absolutely right. These GPTs and today's generative AI is not giving you deterministic answers, but they're, the pre-training that happened, that was based on certain algorithms, right? So transformers, you can break it down into algorithms. So pre-training happened that way. Now, when they're inferencing, yes, it's not a deterministic set of, okay, I will apply this algorithm and that, right? It's an active area of research to really get into the mind of GPT and see what it's doing. But the fundamental underlying infrastructure has been built. The transformers have been built using traditional algorithms.
Understood. Okay.
All the researchers at OpenAI, Google, other places who have built these things, they're algorithm experts. They would, with pride, call themselves algorithm experts. Nothing wrong with that.
Thanks. Okay, so now I'll go in the order of people who raise their hands first. So, Monica, over to you.
Hey, hi, Navneet. This is Monica.
Hi, Monica.
So, I manage partnerships at Gravity. I could very well relate when you were mentioning about your daughter in the last mile delivery case because I too have a 4-year-old, and when we order a toy for him, he keeps asking when is it coming today. And we especially took Prime membership to ensure that he doesn't ask us more questions like is it coming today. So, but I think with increase in customers' demand, there's a lot of cost involved, right? So, is there a way that Gen AI can optimize this cost?
Um, there's a way that AI can optimize the cost. There's a way that, and again, cost optimization has been something that companies have been working on for a long time, right? So, uh, if cost wasn't a concern, for example, so uh, Monica, where do you live?
Bangalore. And
Bangalore.
today, yeah, it's a big billion day, and I'm just seeing, we have ordered more than 10 items and all were delivered in a single day. I mean, the companies are investing huge in this last mile delivery. I
Yeah.
feel like, okay, fine, Amazon is able to do, but what about other companies? Definitely, yes, they'll invest in technology, but is there a way they can optimize this too?
Perfect. An excellent question. I think it'll this question will help us summarize everything we've talked about in this call, right? Now, so imagine I'm going to make this up. You live in Koramangala, in third block Koramangala, right? Now, if cost wasn't a concern, and Amazon wanted to make sure that it wants to serve its third block customers really, really well, they would have a big warehouse and stock everything over there, and your daughter would get stuff 20 minutes after ordering, right? So
Yes.
obviously, cost is a concern. And I promise you that as long as e-commerce companies have existed, they've been taking cost into consideration when doing warehousing. Now, the level of what has changed, Monica, is the level of sophistication of that warehousing, of that inventory management, stocking, and who can do it? Can only Amazon with its smartest people do it, or can any e-commerce shop do it? Right. So those are the two things that have changed. How much better is warehousing getting, and how democratized is it getting? Who can do it? Now, those things, both of those things have been improving for the last 20 years progressively. And with the advent of Gen AI, has there been a switch that has flipped and said, okay, all of a sudden, both of these things are now possible? No. But what has changed is the democratization, right? So if some e-commerce company just wants to do a fair job, not the best job, they can feed in all their data and into, like I said, some kind of an LLM and get a fair answer, right? And that even a business executive can, no special skills needed. So it has been democratized a lot, right? Um, but I don't think it's the answer is that Gen AI, which we've only had really for at a mainstream level for 2 years now, that all of a sudden we can do cost optimization for e-commerce companies only after November 2022. I promise you, Amazon was optimizing cost of its stocking in 2005 also, and it was doing a very good job. And in 2010, it was doing a much better job, applying a lot more AI techniques. Does that make sense, guys, to everybody, or am I, you know, oversimplifying things? I mean, there's
Makes sense, Navneet.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in this e-commerce industry, I can definitely, for 15 years I've been there, so I can definitely tell as part of Sterling Commerce, we were doing this. So I'm pretty sure Amazon was doing this as well, probably 20 years, 30 years back, right? So, uh, yeah, thanks, Monica, for that question. Okay, I'll pass the baton to Nila now. Nila, we have probably I'll just take 5 more minutes from your time, Navneet. So I'll extend
So
it by
basically,
five.
I'll be asking the technical questions. Okay. So how can we use this AI to, optimize our cost of the infrastructure? Let's say if in big billion days are coming, let's say I have a small company, like
Yeah.
I have a XYZ website. Okay. So this predictions, and do you have any examples where like a smaller companies are like say they can use this to, predict the infrastructure cost, not just the infrastructure cost, as well as let's say uh, during Big Billion Day, you are expecting that let's say you will have a more than 100% of increase of your sales. So yeah, that kind of a problems that can be addressed that will help me a
Absolutely.
lot,
And
mostly in the cloud-based technologies. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'll give you a relatively quick answer because yeah, it's 10 o'clock. I actually have to run soon, but I'll give you the non non-traditional, kind of the non-obvious place for this. I think optimizing your infrastructure, yes, it will require techniques like forecasting demand, right, and forecasting traffic, customer traffic, right. Are you going to have 100,000 customers hitting your websites, or are you going to have 10 million, right? And how many transactions and what different parts of the thing and all of that? Yes, and all of that is a forecasting regression problem, right? Other techniques, and then on the infrastructure management, right? Cloud management, yes, kind of provisioning the right amounts of virtual machines to do this and that, uh, provisioning the right amount of storage, all of that is on the infrastructure side. What it comes down to is integration, right? How how well have you integrated? How well can your intelligence drive your DevOps and your infrastructure provisioning. That's what it comes down to. If it's going to be that you run your intelligence separately, get those results separately, and then what you do is some human being goes and manually provisions everything, it's not going to work that well because it's not going to be real time. It's going to be error prone, all that. So it comes down to integrations. And you can think of, once you've integrated, you can think of it as AI being within DevOps.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Navneet, can we just take one last question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Rahul, over to you.
Hey, hi Navneet, hi Sandeep. Thank you for this knowledgeful, discussion around AI. So while you're talking and people are asking questions, I was just trying to, relate it to the specific use cases side of the business. So I'm Rahul. I'm a business development leader. So I'm more into, customer transactions and all that. So while we have, so we have seen that, I mean, you have already explained how, we can increase the efficiency of the operations, how we can increase, those returns. I mean, probably the customer experience side of it. Can we also use AI in detecting these frauds? Because I'm based out of India, and the celebration seasons are around, like those pujas and Diwalis and all that. So of course, there's a heavy load on this e-commerce sector, be it Amazon or Flipkart or Nykaa. So there are a million of transactions, going day in and day out. So is there a way out where AI can be used to minimize the fraud transactions, wherein we have been, getting to know about wrong product has been delivered, or probably completely like there's a fraud, they have ordered something and they have not got received or something like this. So can this AI be used, and if yes, then how effectively can we use it to prevent this fraud transactions or this fraud?
Awesome, awesome. Yes, and we'll let's get into that. It's a great question. Before that, just to shout out to some of my team members who are also here. So Rajesh, Darak, who's joined from Pune, and Aditya, who's right here in California, and a few others that I saw. But so Rahul, fraud in general, right? It's a big issue in e-commerce. Transaction fraud, there's return fraud, delivery fraud. Now, there is a traditional aspect to fraud, and now there is kind of a new age aspect to fraud and fraud fighting, right? So what's the traditional thing is basically, is somebody using a stolen credit card? Is somebody doing a transaction that they shouldn't be? Is somebody scamming some other way, right? And yes, AI again has been used a lot. In fact, what opened my eyes was uh, early on AI being used at Stripe. You all know Stripe, very good company. But when Stripe was a small company, right? This is one of the first problems they tackled. They hired some really good people, PhDs, and I want to say a dozen years ago, 15 years ago, they made this a use case study of fraud detection based on AI techniques. They did a fabulous job. And one of the reasons they have so many customers and customers love Stripe so much is it helps them fight fraud. And we can get into how the different classification techniques of classifying fraud and what they use and how they manage their data, because the data is just so skewed in fraud, right? Out of every 1,000 transactions, one will be fraud. So machines are confused with that imbalance of data. That's the traditional fraud management. But I think your question also gets into, okay, delivery time fraud, or even after that, right? And theft and all of those things. And the latest AI techniques, video-based, detection-based, and other patterns to be matched, uh, definitely help. definitely help fighting fraud at that end as well.
Thanks, Navneet. Sure.
But this is another one. Fraud is another one that helps if you think from first principles and say, okay, what are you trying to reduce, and how much are you trying to reduce? Right? I don't think it should be the goal of any company. This might sound surprising. It should not be the goal of any commerce company, any e-commerce company, to have zero fraud, bring down their fraud to exactly zero. Because what they will do in that process is, towards the end, they will actually spoil consumer experience. And I can get into, for example, there is a fundamental difference, huge difference in the consumer experience of buying something in the US versus India. There's no concept of OTPs or this or that, right, in credit card transactions. And US has a lot more fraud, but it's a conscious choice. So yes, you want to keep fraud to a minimum, bring it down, but after a point, it becomes a conscious choice. It's a trade-off between fraudulent transactions and the consumer experience. You want to achieve that right balance towards the end.
True.
Great. Okay, I absolutely don't want to end this, Navneet sir, but I think we are already 8 minutes over time. It was really fruitful conversation, and I'm pretty sure the team members who have joined across geography would have learned a lot in this 1 hour. Right? I would definitely request you for a follow-up session. I know like you have been running pretty crazy, especially with your recent launch, right? But I would try to find a slot sometime in future, and we'll have a follow-up session. This has been a really nice discussion, and thanks again for taking out time to join this discussion, sir, and sharing your
Absolutely.
thoughts.
Thank you, everybody, for the nice emojis and such an engaging conversation. I really enjoy discussing all of this. So anytime, and all the best to all of you as you innovate and fight these problems worth fighting for.
Definitely, sir. Okay, thanks, Mr. Anit. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Bye. Good day.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Bye bye. GP, you may stop the recording. Thank you.